Hey now, it's hello folks. Hi, it's me. It's John Peasy, sitting in my bunker with green screens all around me and freezing with the air conditioning on in here, wearing a sweater, and it's like 100 degrees up for the last 2 days. Hey, welcome to Cool Crap We Loved. I am so happy to be here and healthy and COVID free, entertaining you all with silly stuff from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And tonight's going to be really special, too, because we have coming on Marc Price, which I'm really looking forward to speak to. He was one of the guys I grew up watching all the time as a kid, too. And he's a young man and looking good. But first, before we go anywhere with anything, I have to bring on that crazy, wacky man, Mr. Walt Papa Leo. Where are you, Mr. Walt? Come on in. There you go.
Everybody get up.
Are you looking in?
First of all, you spelled my name wrong again. And second of all, you said my name wrom again.
Wait, is it spelled wrong? Popailo?
Ailo. You put Alio.
Is it Palo?
Popalo. Po-pale-o.
I'm so sorry. I do this. You're not the only one. I do this to everybody. I make mistakes on people's names all the time. I mean, even when I say I'm going to the John, sometimes by accident I say I'm going to Bill. I've done this many times.
It happens, and even with the whatchamacallit, when it comes up and it says we're live, John Peasy is live. It says the Cool Crap Show. You put the TEH.
You see, this is what happens when you do dick jokes instead of writing. Going to school. This is apparently what happens.
Everything's shorthand. You know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
What we're doing,
How you doing?
Sitcom. I think we're gonna have fun with the sitcoms tonight. We were talking about prepping and all of that kind of stuff, and John's been busy with all kinds of gigs and stuff like that, and stuff online. So I said, what do we need prep for? Just pop up the TV show, and we're gonna be good to go. So we're all right here.
But a lot of people don't realize that. Well, a lot of people think, like, a lot of times we spend a lot of time working on some of the shows where we put together so many things. And then in reality, this is supposed to be about just two guys that didn't have a childhood, that just watched a lot of television, right?
That's it. Television, ate candy, play with toys. That's all it is.
Yeah, right. And it's not much different than what I'm doing now.
No.
Right?
No, not much different than what you're doing. Me, it's totally different. This is the useless bar knowledge that I'm actually using for good and not evil.
There you go. That's right. You and I could be terrorists, but instead
we could be trivia terrorists.
We're using our usefulness or uselessness for nothing.
That's right. For good and evil. But anyway, let's look at my Dr. Pepper shirt. I bought this at Kohl's.
I love it. And you see me, I'm on a plane. I'm on a plane about to fly
I'm gonna do vintage stuff, vintage shirts. Kohl's.
Where do you get a Dr. Pepper shirt? Where do you get that? Where do you get it?
Kohl's.
Oh, really?
Kohl's. It was somehow it was $15, and then I went and I bought it, and I had like a 25% coupon and a 25% off coupon. Somehow I bought this shirt and walked out with $8.
Trying to look at that big shirt that you're wearing there. There you go. Okay, that's pretty cool.
Dr. Pepper.
And it looks worn, like.
Yes, it's what do they call it? They call it distressed. Distressed.
Oh, is that what it's called? Distressed look.
Distressed look.
That seems like
you buy furniture. It looks like it was knocked around a little bit.
That's like my skin.
It's distressed from years. Only this is new.
Well, this is new. I'm looking forward to the show too, and we have a bunch of people watching already, which is kind of cool. And probably, of course, we got some of the same people that we always have. We have a small fan club. This is kind of creepy.
Kind of like it a little bit.
Yes and no.
Yeah, well, let's see. It depends. Is that one of the creepy guys up in Canada?
Yeah, that's right. One of the creepy guys in Canada.
Daniel Miller.
As a matter of fact, everything is cool until they come, do some cross burnings on your lawn.
On your front lawn.
Yeah, then it changes the game.
Well, we're going to see how much they know about this stuff too. Let's see. They throw their favorite parts of these shows in. So let's bring up the first one, man. Let's bring up the first.
You got it. Show. You got it, Walt. You're like, come on, stuff with the BS. Let's get right on.
Man. It's like you and Jackie. You get just to talk about tell jokes.
We tell jokes off the air more than we tell on the air. Sometimes we're just telling jokes all day. But, this is a good point. So the first one up is something that, I watched as a kid a little bit. I hope it's, I don't think I have the order of what we want to talk about, but I don't think I have the order of the pictures. So how do you like that?
So just pick one.
Well, maybe I'll start with this one. Okay, first one here,
Go ahead.
coming up right there. Hey,
Wait a minute.
that's my favorite. Let's go back to that later. I'm gonna do a different one. Hey,
All right, let's
there you
do this
go.
one. Now,
Please stop me.
for the people out there that don't know, me and John have been having copyright issues with people. So what I did was I took every one of the TV shows and I imposed our faces on it, which now gives us Fair Use Act with these pictures. So we think.
Yeah, so that's what I'm doing to you right now. I'm going to impose you behind there.
But this is Three's Company, and this is I used to watch it when it was on TV. I forgot, was it maybe Channel 7? Was it on Channel 7, ABC?
You know, I'm not sure, but I will tell you, I did watch this one a real lot.
Yeah. Now
I
this
was,
one here.
And in fact, I was in it. My head's right there next to you.
I
and
see
Mr.
you there,
Roper.
right above. Right.
What was it, Mr.
Jack
Roper?
and Janet.
Yeah.
But this one here, I used to watch it. I think it was Channel 7. And then I used to watch it a lot, 11 o'clock, when I was off from school in the summertime, in the syndication when it was on 11 o'clock in the afternoon. And I know I used to watch it because I didn't get up till 11 o'clock.
So things haven't changed, but this was a really well-written show because, you know, I mean, this is when I started to learn that I liked humor. I really started to understand, like, you know, I like the Honeymooners.
This was the show?
Well, no, I like the Honeymooners and all the class, the Odd Couple that we spoke about last week, and all that stuff. But this is the writing is very clever. It always is the same. It's almost today like Curb Your Enthusiasm. It has the same sort of format all the time to it, but it's always hilarious. It's always like the format would be something happens and somebody misconstrues exactly what happened.
That was every episode.
I love that. I love that kind of humor.
That was every episode. It was like, you know, Jack and Chrissy were going out on, you know, they were working for American Cancer Society, and somehow Janet overheard it, and Mr. Furley, and they thought they were having sex.
Right. Love it. I think that
was the same episode every time.
I love it. I love that kind of humor. Is that look but don't see humor to me makes me always laugh thoroughly. Thought it was hilarious. I tried to
get who should we call it, Joyce DeWitt, to do this show tonight with us.
And what
but yeah, she didn't answer.
Really?
She didn't answer.
That's a problem tonight too with StreamYard. I'm not able to see the comments in StreamYard. I'm not seeing.
This happened one other time before.
Yeah, happened one other time, and I'm not seeing how much of a count we have either. All I see is a time. I have a little limit. I have little limitations. So I apologize to any of the people in the chat.
That's okay. Moment. We'll see them afterwards. Just make comments, and I think we do see them afterwards when we post this.
Yeah, I'm looking on Facebook right now. I can see the comments on Facebook. I can't see them here where I'm supposed to, unfortunately.
That's all right.
And I can refresh this, but we're live, so it's a bad idea. So we'll just
don't do it.
We're gonna pound through. But anyway, Chrissy Snow, because that was the name of the
Christmas. Her name was Christmas Snow.
Oh, Christmas Snow.
That's why it was Chrissy. It was Christmas Snow.
Well, she was hot, and so
yeah.
This is like when you're a little kid. You're like, well, who do you like more? Do you like
Janet or Christy?
Janet? No, but back in the day, it was always the
Gilligan and Ginger. I mean, Marianne and Ginger.
Ginger or Marianne.
Ginger, I met Marianne, so I'm gonna have to go with Marianne.
Marianne was cute, but I'm looking at these. They were both beautiful girls, and she went on. Summers went on to do health books and things on women learning.
She had the Thigh Master. She made the Thigh Master. She was very big on. Probably made a lot of money. And I think wasn't she in the TV show called She's the Sheriff?
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I do. I think she was the sheriff.
And everybody said this guy was the greatest guy, Jack Tripper, who played Jack. They said he was a great guy. Everyone said he was like, he passed away early, and he was a really fun. Yeah, too bad.
But he was like, he was the master of like the trip over the couch.
Yeah,
he always tripped over some kind of a couch and
a modern day Chevy Chase, if you will.
Yeah, modern day Chevy Chase or Gerald Ford, whoever.
Sure.
But the unsung hero on that show. I mean, you had Norman Fell, who played Mr. Roper. And then you had Don Knotts, who played Mr. Furley.
Yeah. Sure.
Mr. Furley when Roper left. But Larry was the guy. His friend Larry always had some kind of a scheme going. I remember one episode where he had a whole glass full of like rings, wedding bands or engagement rings, and he used to hand them out to girls. Just just engagement rings. And Jack was like, "What are you doing?" He goes, "What are you not doing?" But that was it. He had always a scheme going on, Larry.
Faintly remember that. I faintly remember that. I also remember he always had like hot girlfriends too, didn't he?
Yeah, they both did. They never had it. They never had anybody who came home looking like Nancy Pelosi.
Actually, I don't know, but if I was like a single guy living with those two girls in that apartment, that would have been very difficult. So, and here's another one.
That's why, if you remember, that's why Mr. Roper and Mr. Furley used to always try to catch him. So if you remember, the premise was he was gay.
Yes, right.
He was gay, and he was living with two women. Otherwise, if he was heterosexual, they wouldn't allow him to live in the same apartment.
That was the big hook.
That was the hook. And Furley and Roper would always try to catch him being heterosexual.
And the funny thing, too, that was another reoccurring thing that women, I think, really like was Mrs. Roper was like a horny devil and couldn't get any from anybody. And every line was always about him not being able to have
Stanley. Yeah, always.
Yeah. No sexual prowess coming from Stanley in the bedroom.
She used to dress in. He dressed up like Mr. Rogers, and she was dressed up in a kimono, always ready to go. Mrs. Roper.
You know what's funny? Look at the way this shapes our lives. We're sitting here talking about like it's reality.
It probably is. Now it's if you don't have a gay guy living in your apartment, there's something wrong.
Well, Mrs. Roper's reality is everyone, if you've been married 30, 40 years too, right? Isn't it?
Right. She's everybody's wife is now Mrs. Roper that we grew up.
If you've married a long time, right? So it was a great show. I like that repetitive writing, kind of that whole thing. I don't know what you call it, but it was great. And another one that I grew up on that everyone loved. And once again, it looks like you've taken the photo.
How did that happen?
Again? I have no idea.
Now, this is obviously All in the Family. You could not make All in the Family today.
Well, you could, but you couldn't play it.
Right. You could waste a lot of money making it, but you couldn't play it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Rob Reiner, who played Meathead, Mike Stivic in that.
Yeah.
He'd be the first one to take it off the air.
Yeah, he's a very liberal guy, right? In LA.
Very big liberal.
But it was groundbreaking. It was funny. It was strong, and it actually poked fun at all the ethnic stereotypes that existed, and
every one of them, every one.
And again, it was those great strong characters: the dopey wife, the meathead son, the daughter that he loved, but she was making mistakes, and the neighbor next door. The whole thing was just a brilliantly written. But it was a different time. It was a different world that we came into.
Little trivia for you. What was the address they lived at?
What was the address?
Yeah,
it was. I have no idea.
I think it was actually named a show afterwards too.
No, what is it?
704 Hauser Street.
You
know that?
You're good.
704 Hauser Street.
No, I didn't know.
In Queens. I believe it was in Queens, right?
Wow. I just saw recently one of the comedians went and did a bit. Did you see that? He was playing the piano. I think it was Paul and his wife were doing a bit where they were making believe they were this sitcom singing as
Paul Veneer. Yeah, Paul Veneer and his wife did it. And they sang Those Were the Days to like what was happening today.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so sorry I can't see these comments. People, even your brothers in the comments. I'm sorry I can't see it.
My brother knows these things just as good as I do.
Yeah, you and your brother. It's like
realistically, he could be sitting here doing the same thing that I'm doing.
Share the same bottle. Also, here's another classic one. And by the way, and this is one of the 60s into the 70s show. I love this show. I watched it many, many times. What is it?
Marc. That was one of the best shows out there. They're even using it today. I think the Fidelity guy or some kind of insurance guy is using. He gets out of the car and he goes down the stairs and he's walking through the doors that are opening up and closing behind them.
Yeah.
But for people who don't know what we're talking about,
well, younger people,
right? Maxwell Smart was Agent 86, and the girl in the picture was Agent 99, and they used to do cases together. And they worked for a government agency called Control.
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 How simple is the name of that agency? Control.
Control. And then they had a robot, which is his name was Jaime, was played by Dick Gordier. And they always had like Agent 13, who had the crappiest gigs. He would be in like mailboxes or a gym locker. He was undercover, always somewhere. Agent 13. And then Edward Platt played the boss,
the chief.
Which was
Chief
Thaddeus. I think his name was Thaddeus.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Another trivia.
Yeah.
Good.
And they fought against what was the group? What was the bad? What was the bad group? Come on.
Wait. I'm not thinking about this in my head right now. You're right. It was
Control always fought against.
What was it?
Chaos.
Chaos.
With a K. Chaos.
Who wrote this? It was a 5-year-old.
Yes. And then they had the bad guy was Bernie Coppell.
Yeah.
Right? Remember the doc from the Love Boat? And he was, what was his? Siegfried.
Wow. Pull them all up. And by the way, I remember thinking Agent 99 was really hot back then. And
Barbara Feldon? Absolutely.
Yeah, Barbara Feldman. You know who else was really hot back then? Feldon. You know who else? Remember the guy who had the metal hat? He would throw at Patrick, and it was he had the cane and a hat, and he would do all these kind of tricks and things when he was fighting the criminals, and he had a sidekick as well. It was a British guy. And now it's
the Avengers.
Avengers.
Yeah, the Avengers.
Yeah, remember
McNee? I think his name was.
Who was the chick that used to work with him?
Oh yeah.
See, I'm giving you trivia that you can't answer. I guarantee it's in the chat. Somebody will probably know. I don't remember, but she was kind of like a Barbara Feldon type of
Mrs.
Beautiful. Mrs. Peel.
Mrs. Peel.
Right, but who was Mrs. Peel?
Jill St. James or something like that, was it?
No, now you're thinking of Jill St. James was inside the Bond series in the late 60s. James Bond. I have to
remember him. Patrick McNee was the Avenger guy.
I know we didn't even discuss this, but this is it's just popping off the top of my head as I'm starting to think about it. I remember she was a really hot looking lady. Mrs. Peel. Okay, I tell you what, I'll blow you up. I'll tell you who it is in a minute. You tell me.
Well, so anyway, what Max Smart would always do, it's almost like it was a spoof on James Bond. And one of the funniest things that I thought that they did was the Cone of Silence. So the Cone of Silence was to keep top secret information away from anybody who would spy it from Chaos. So Max always wanted to use it. Don Adams always wanted to use it, and the chief really said, "Max, we're here at Control headquarters. We don't really need to use it." And then he would shame him into using it because that was really the protocol to do it. And they'd always put down the Cone of Silence, and it was a cone. It was just plexiglass that came down, and the chief would go, "Okay, Max, where is Chaos meeting tonight?" And Max would always go, "Huh? What?"
Yeah,
right. So he could never hear inside the Cone of Silence, but he always wanted to use it.
What did the Cone of Silence look like? First of all, I'm glad you brought the Cone of Silence up because that was the one memorable thing about that room. It was almost like the top of the Batmobile upside down, coming down in plastic. With two
it was just it was a rectangle that came down over the desk, and they put both of them in it, and they talked in it, but it was like an echo chamber. But Max could never hear what the chief was saying in there. So it was just comical because he wanted to use it and he couldn't hear him.
The girl's name, and somebody just put it in the chat, Tom did too. It was Diana Rigg.
I wouldn't have got that.
Mrs. Emma Peel, Diana Rigg, British 1960s adventure series, The Avengers. And Uma Thurman played her in 1998 when they redid it.
Oh, in the remake.
Yeah.
But one more thing about the Cone of Silence.
Cone of Silence. And also don't forget the shoe.
The shoe, well, we'll get to that, but the Cone of Silence, they had that one that came down in the office.
Right.
But there was also one time they were out, and they were out on, out on the street, and Max wanted to, tell them something, and they had to take out the portable Cone of Silence, and all it was two fish bowls that went over each head, and then it had a long tube that went through, and then he go, "All right, Max, you got the Cone of Silence. Where is Chaos? What is Chaos's plan?" Huh? What?
That would work really well in COVID environment.
Yes.
The little plastic hole between two
little
COVID.
Things. That's what we should do. The
COVID
of silence.
the COVID cone of silence will make.
The COVID silence.
Yeah.
But and then he was famous for his shoe. His shoe had an actual phone in it.
Right, which by the way, in the '60s is big.
That was big back then. He would take the heel off, and he would take the heel off, and that would be the talking device, and then the other one would have the dial in it. The shoe leather would have the dial in it.
So great.
And a little trivia question for anybody out there who didn't know: they never said 99's real name except one time.
Oh, really?
One time, 99's name, her first name, and it was when Max and her were getting married.
Hey, Walt, look at those notes below you one more time. Go ahead. I see you looking down. What is it?
No, I don't know. I have this in my head.
Is it in your head?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm like,
so they got married, right? They get married, and then the priest says, "Do you, Max, take Susan to be your lawfully wedded wife?" And he goes,
Susan?
Like he was marrying her. He didn't even know her first name. He knew her as 99.
That's pretty funny. I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, just him looking at her going, Susan.
Ah, very funny. It's a great show.
If you get to watch it, great show.
A lot more. Let me just move on because we have so much more. And there's more. And lots more. And lots more.
And we didn't do any yet.
We didn't do anything yet. We're only 24 minutes in. We haven't done a thing. Ironically.
And we got Marc Price coming on at 8:30.
Oh, so it's in 6 minutes. So, all right, we have also another show that I watched a million times over and over, and who has a brilliant comedian in it as well. Marc from Ork.
Mork and Mindy, which was Robin Williams, the great Robin Williams, and Pam Dawber.
Yep.
And he was an alien. And when that thing he was doing it at, he would go nanu nanu. That's
right. Nanu.
That's what he was famous for. But they became roommates. She took him in, and they had her father, which was played by Conrad Janis.
Mm-hmm.
I know, right? Right.
Yeah,
I knew that. And they had the grandmother, and later on in the series, when they jumped the shark, if you remember, Jonathan Winters was in the show playing their son.
Yes, I do.
But he was old, so they started old. The baby starts old and then becomes younger instead of being young and becoming older. So Jonathan Winters was a baby.
And that show made him he became so huge from that show. As a comedian, he was a high-energy, interactive comic that was supposedly off the cuff, everyone said. And
he was. What was it a spinoff from?
What was a spinoff? I don't know.
What it was a spinoff from a show.
Was it really?
I didn't know that.
No.
There was a reason I gave you an order.
Yeah, I know. So tell me, what was the order? I'm sorry.
Happy Days. He came on. It's a spinoff from Happy Days.
You're absolutely right. I'm sorry. I was very busy involved with chaos today.
Stalker.
You're right. It was a spinoff. And how did it go? How did that thread line go between?
He was going to fight the Fonz. He was like he was coming down to take on the Fonz. Somehow he was involved with the Fonz.
Speaking
Happy Days had a couple spinoffs. There you go. Happy Days. Oh, there we are again.
There you go.
Happy Days. A lot of people don't know that Happy Days had a spinoff of Laverne and Shirley, which everybody knew that, but Mork and Mindy was a spinoff from it. And there's a lot of things about Happy Days that you probably know or you don't know. Like, did you know that the Cunninghams, how many children did the Cunninghams have?
I don't know.
Well, everybody sees Richie and Joni, right? Richie and Joni Cunningham.
Right.
But in early episodes, there was a brother, Chuck, an older brother, played basketball. And Chuck, they just wrote him out of the show. They never said, "Oh my God, Chuck died. Oh my God, we miss him so much." They never referred to Chuck again.
Chuck was in a fatal acting accident.
Yes, he was in a fatal acting accident. It's crazy, and you'll never believe who the first person that was brought onto that show. Like the first person, you would think, say, "Oh, we got to hire this guy because he's going to make the show." And once we get him on board or her on board, then we have a show. Guess who it was?
Who was it?
Potsy. Anson Williams.
That's
Yes.
correct. Yes, that
Yes.
is correct. Yes.
Potsy and Marion Ross. Those were the two that they had to get onto the show. But Anson Williams was the guy, and Fonzie wasn't even a main character. He
I
was
love
just
it. I love it. You are chock full of trivia tonight. You really got the trivia stuff down. I'm loving it. It's great. But you're really on the money.
Yeah.
It just goes to show you how much as a kid you were really hooked in there. You were,
and if you remember, Fonzie didn't even have a leather jacket on in the beginning. He used to wear like a light blue windbreaker.
Tell me the truth. When we used to watch that show back in the day, I remember thinking, I mean, everyone loved certain characters there, but I remember everyone loved Fonzie, of course, and then later on they kind of hated him. But at the beginning, everyone kind of loved him, and then I think as the end, it became over the top and too silly, you know. But I do remember no one liked Ralph Malph for some reason because he's a redheaded guy. Like he's like,
I got a million of them. I got a million of them. That's what he's doing. But I reached out to Donnie Most to come on this show too, and he said he didn't answer.
He didn't answer you? He
didn't answer. He didn't answer to come on.
Oh, well, maybe in the future. You know, I mean, it's just funny. It would be funny to talk to him to see how he felt to be typecast in that series.
Well, it's funny you should say that the show started getting a little campy at the end. It started getting a little over the top because, as many people probably know, you ever hear the saying that this show has jumped the shark?
Jump the shark is a big term in the yeah, sure.
You know, that came from Happy Days.
No, I did not know that. I remember listening to Stern all the time. They were talking about jump the shark back in.
Well, that came from Happy Days. What happened was it was so bad. It was just getting so bad that Fonzie owned Arnold's, and he was and Richie wasn't there anymore, and Ace was there, which was Ted McGinley, the cousin, and they did. So what they did was they had Fonzie. He was gonna water ski and jump over a shark in the water.
So that's where the term came from.
That's where the term came from, jump the shark. So that was the episode that jumped the shark. So anytime
another piece of trivia by Walt tonight.
I told you this was going to be easy for me.
It's like turning into like Retard Workshop.
Yeah, so that's jump the shark is where it came. So a little quick trivia before we bring Mark on. What was Fonzie's first name?
Arthur
Fonzarelli. Arthur Fonzarelli is right. Who was the guy who owned Arnold's?
The Chinese guy.
Arnold. And I think he was Japanese.
Who's buried in Grant's grave? Yeah, that's like
Grant.
That. All right. Enough of the silliness. Let's bring on Mark because he's dressed now.
He's dressed?
He's dressed. He's
sound check. Hey, Mark.
And by the way,
Mark Price.
I just want to say before I met him.
An intro.
Yeah, great intro, actually. You know, everyone will know Marc Price. He's an American actor and comedian and known for his role as Erwin Skippy Handelman on the television series Family Ties, which I've watched that a million times as well. And Marc Price is apparently, and this I did not know until yesterday, is that Marc Price's parents were Borscht Belt comedians Al Burney and singer Joy Mann. And by the way, I have to share a really great tie then to someone like this because I love Borscht Belt comedy. To me, that is the best humor that ever existed. And to this day, I still laugh at it. And I'm so happy. I didn't know this, and that's a great thing. Anyway, here he is, the wonderful Marc Price. Skippy Price. There he is. Okay.
Get up.
And he's dressed.
Look at him. Hey, look at him with a shirt on. We can't hear him now.
So much
volume.
Oh, you got no volume at all, Mark. We don't hear you.
Hit the little mic. The little mic's we got a line through it.
Wow, it's so funny. Before we tested him out, he was perfect, and now we can't hear him at all.
Go out and come back in.
Yeah, drop out and just come back in. Sometimes that works because he maybe has a different Wi-Fi than he had earlier. You know,
it looks like he's closer to the house.
Well,
is that better?
Well, let's see. Yeah, he dropped out, so we'll bring him back in a second. Yeah, before he was near the pool, so now he's near somewhere else, part of the house.
Family Ties. Let me tell you something about Family Ties. That Alex P. Keaton on that show actually was supposed to be Ferris Bueller. What's his name? Matthew Broderick was supposed to be Alex P. Keaton.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was supposed to be it, but then he went and did War Games, the movie War Games, and that's how this guy slid right in, Michael J. Fox.
Wow. Yeah, and Michael J. Fox went on to have such a career. What a career that guy had.
Huge career. Huge
Unbelievable.
career.
I'm showing here right there is a picture of Family Ties. Hey, we were in there too.
We were in that one. I can tell you, the mother was really, really cute.
I remember her. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Meredith Baxter Burney.
The father doesn't seem like he fits in this family.
Michael Gross. Who was that supposed to be? That was supposed to be somebody else. That was supposed to be. I think that was supposed to be Chris Monty.
Ha! I see. Here we go. Mark's coming back here. Let's see. Hopefully that works.
See if we get some sound.
How are we better off now?
You're good.
There we go.
You're in. Thank you for coming in here. We won't reintroduce you, but now at least you're dressed. We saw him earlier. Mark was practically naked, swimming in his backyard.
I think I saw a nipple.
I'm still not wearing pants.
Oh, you're wearing.
Neither am I.
He's wearing chaps.
In the 80s, it was very cool not to wear socks. I don't know if everybody remembers that.
You're absolutely right. Hey,
Now, Mark, we talked to Mark, and I said, hey, Mark, this is not going to be a show where we're going to talk about Family Ties because you've probably done that 1,000 times. We're going to talk about other shows that you liked growing up because you're our age. You're in your 50s, young 50s. So you watched all the shows.
I've grown to cope with talking about Family Ties plenty, but yes, I grew up with all the shows just like you guys. I never read a book in my life. If I did, it was about TV shows. That was about it, or movies.
Now, Mark, what was your favorite like sitcom type of show back then?
So you guys picked the right guest for this because I actually moved to TV land. Literally, I grew up in New Jersey at first. And when I was 12, turning 13, I moved to Hollywood. And you mentioned my dad was a Borscht Belt comedian before. I was curious, did you spend time in the Catskills?
Yes, I caught it at the very end, performing at Kutcher's and all those great resorts, the Browns Hotel. Oh, and by the way, I love that one-two punch kind of and storytelling humor.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, I caught the end of that too. That was in the 70s and early 80s. It was kind of on the wane, right? Anyway, but then we moved to Hollywood. I moved to Hollywood with my dad. And it was like entering into all the TV shows I had seen. I mean, just for one, just the background, just, the hills and everything, the way it looks here is the way in those days. Now they shoot shows everywhere. They shoot movies everywhere. But, they used to shoot everything here. So the Batcave and the Mannix chase scene and all that stuff. It was like, wow, I'm here. This is it. TV land.
That is awesome.
And then I'll take it one step further. Because my dad was a comedian, you have to remember in those days, old people were still on TV. Remember that? Like these days, there's no show that has more than one old person occasionally.
Yeah.
In those days, there were a lot of old people. It was not like a big shocker. And so guys that were my dad's age and the old time comedians were still working in the 70s. That changed. As a matter of fact, my show was one of the shows that changed it. It made it all young people.
Yeah. Yeah. He's right. Because something like, what was it? Night Court with Harry Anderson. Everybody in that show was old.
But, Walt, just think about this guy. He moves from New Jersey to L.A., and he goes and sees the Batcave. It's like orgasmic when you're 14 years old to walk into the Batcave set. That's going to be like the coolest thing.
It goes further. It goes further, though. So my dad was friends with the old guy who played the dad on Laverne and Shirley. If you remember the grumpy dad.
Phil Foster.
Mr. Phil Foster from the Catskills,
yeah.
etc. And from a great long history in show business. And he helped a lot of people get their start in show business, introduce people and set people up with movie roles. And he prided himself on it. And so he told me to tell anybody that asked that he was my uncle and brought me to the set of Paramount Studios, brought me to the studio and brought me to the set of Laverne and Shirley, and then had me go around to all the different shows. And if anybody asked, I was Phil Foster's nephew and I was allowed.
That's awesome.
He hooked them up.
So they had Taxi, they had Mork and Mindy, they had the Bosom Buddies was just starting. Tom Hanks came over.
Tom
and
Hanks
talked to me
starting, right?
stuff.
Peter Scolari.
Nobody knew who Tom Hanks was, but
yeah,
he was a real star. He came over and kind of schmoozed me and stuff. He saw I was watching. The experience was mind blowing. And then a couple of years later, there we were at Paramount Studios shooting Family Ties. So I felt very comfortable when I went into audition and stuff. I had hung out there. I knew my way around.
Uncle Phil Foster got him in there. Frank DeFazio.
That is so cool. That is really so cool. But as a kid now, being out in California, what did you watch when you're not shooting, or what did you experience as like, I got to go see this. It's on at 5:00.
So what did I watch? I'm sorry. Go ahead. Repeat.
I'm wondering, like, as a kid in California, what would you watch? I mean, what did you have to see? What was important to you growing up in that environment?
Well, that's the other thing too. Now we have so many channels and there's so much media and Netflix and new things all the time and stuff. We had the same 12 shows. They used to play us the shows from the 50s and 60s, right? We watched the reboots from decades before us. So, I mean, even the Brady Bunch really wasn't fully with me. I never saw the Brady Bunch prime time ever, I don't think. I only remember it in repeats every day.
He's probably right.
You were talking about Hogan's Heroes, I guess, was a good one. Green Acres. I love Ebb.
Green Acres. I forgot about Green Acres.
I mean, you think about it. Think about how long ago it was for me. As a kid, we used to actually like play, you know, like when you got older, kids play cops and robbers. But before that, people were playing cowboys and Indians. That's how show you how old people are. Because kids today, what's cowboys and Indians anymore? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I know.
You know?
I love old westerns too. I used to watch Lone Ranger. And when I watch it now, it's kind of like comfort food. It actually, and it holds up. I got to tell you, the classic Lone Ranger episodes are actually really well done. They're simple, but they're solid.
That was Clayton Moore. Clayton Moore, he was the Lone Ranger.
Yeah. Now, what about today? What are we watching today, Mark, when you're off with all the stuff, with all the content? What do you fulfill your head with?
Well, that's the scary part is I think I go back and I watch the Lone Ranger on YouTube and I watch the 80s episodes of Johnny Carson. To me, that stuff is like comfort food. That's
because of the Borscht Belt background of the parents. I guarantee you. That's
absolutely
has to be.
So especially Carson, watching Carson.
Still to this day, the greatest. Still to this day. Yeah. Absolutely.
I started as a little kid comedian. I don't know if you guys know that. Before I was on Family Ties, I went on the Merv Griffin show as a kid comic. And I was a little Catskill comic. That's what I was. Because I did part of my dad's act and I did part of Jay Leno's act. And I did
Did not know that.
Because in the Catskills, those guys did everybody's jokes and stuff. So there I was doing the same thing. But I was 14. That was the only difference. And they called me in to do some sitcoms. That's how I ended up being on Family Ties and stuff. But what you were talking about Archie Bunker earlier, and that's one of the ones that I did. And I played a little Catskills comedian on that. I don't know if you remember, there was a little girl on that show.
I didn't know that.
All in the Family, towards the end, it became Archie Bunker's place.
Archie Bunker's place, yep. After Edith died.
Right. And so sadly she wasn't there, which would have been great to meet her. But there was the set and there was the chair. I got to sit in the chair. And the little girl on the show, she played Stephanie.
Stephanie, yep. Yeah. His granddaughter or something. Or
Brisbois. Danielle Brisbois, beautiful gal. She went on to write some very big hit songs. By the way, that little girl wrote some really big hit songs.
That little girl turned into Janet Jackson.
No, seriously. Danielle Brisbois, Grammy winner.
Danielle Brisbois. I remember her. Yeah, I remember her. She was the little one. Everybody was gone from that show, though. If I'm not mistaken, Archie bought Kelsey's, and that's how they continued the show without Edith.
So she was trying out for the School of Performing Arts, and she didn't get in. That was kind of the idea.
Oh, we lost him a little bit.
He's frozen.
He's frozen.
Must be cold over there. Oh, there he is.
He's back.
There he is.
Oh,
now we lost your voice again.
And we're at the 10-minute point anyway. I was only going to. Thank you. And if
Mark, thank you so much. We'll talk again. Maybe we'll bring you back on next time we do it.
We'll get you. Next time we'll plug you in. And by the way, anyone that would like to, there's Skippy Price's Skyline. There he is. Got a beautiful. You can see. Obviously, he's in the mountains in LA. He's showing you the downtown. Oh, beautiful area. The mountainous LA.
Look at that. Those residuals must be doing well for him.
Apparently so. And he has a nice tree in his yard. Thank you so much. Thank you. He's a great guy. And you know something about him is what you see is what you get. Kind of
thing.
I
saw him as a comic, and he was very, very funny.
So we worked together somewhere on the road. I don't remember where it was. And by the way, anyone that would like to connect with Marc Price, you could go on Facebook.com/Marc Skippy Price if you want to say hello to him and send him tell him
you saw him here.
Tell him that you saw him here on the Cool Crap Show. Or if you want younger folks, you can get him on Twitter. Look, it's spelt incorrectly. It's
Marc
Price now. It's
You're horrible. You are horrible.
Let me fix that right now for everybody.
You and your sausage fingers. You suck at this.
I got it. There it is. Anyone that would like to see Mark Price now on Twitter at Mark Price now, and once again on Facebook at Mark Skippy Price. And I want to get hooked on phonics before I move on to our next thing. Actually, he's a really cool guy, and you can see he's a nice guy. He comes from a showbiz family, and he's a regular. You can see he's not one of these kind of guys, arrogant. He's just you could go out and have a beer with him, kind of guy.
You literally could. You could go out and have a beer with. I did actually. I think I did. But let me tell you, that show again. Michael J. Fox was the cat's meow in that. Nobody knew who Michael J. Fox was. So when he used to come back with those quick one-liner backs, everybody fell in love with Michael J. Fox, including me. I mean, I wanted to be Alex P. Keaton.
Really?
Oh,
yeah.
My God. Yeah. I mean, that's how smart and so sarcastic he was.
Smart kid.
Yeah. And if you remember, they had on there Mallory, which is Justine Bateman, and her brother is Jason Bateman from Ozark.
Which is great show.
Great show. Tina Yothers, I believe, went into a band, if I'm not mistaken. Meredith Dexter Burney passed away. I think Michael Gross, the father, passed away. And you remember Mallory's boyfriend?
Yes, faintly.
That was Nick. His name was Nick. I forgot what his name was. But he had the long hair. He talked like Sylvester Stallone.
Strong character. And Michael J. Fox was like investing money and doing things. He was like super smart, sleuthy type of guy. Yeah. He was able to invest cash and make money, and he was smarter than everyone else in the family.
That's when he wanted to be a banker or something like that.
What a career he went on to have, too. Some career. Unbelievable career. I mean, just the obviously the series that he went into after the movies that he did, which became the big franchise for Back to the Futures, was to this day great.
Well, don't forget, he was also in that that TV series. What the hell was it with the New York City?
I don't remember that.
Silver something. Where he played like a New York City district attorney. Not Marky Post wasn't in it. She was in Night Court.
You could do it.
Tracy Pollan was in it. His wife. Well, you know what? Let's go on to the next one. You research it and then you come back to me.
All right. Well, it's usually I'll give you applause anyway, as if you gotten it.
It wasn't Night Court. It was Sin City or something like that.
I think you're right.
Something City.
Now, what the heck is this? Tamil, Damada. There you go.
Spin City. That's what it was. Spin City.
What was the wording for this? The deal. Incorporated.
Schlemiel Schlemazel Hodgson Beverage Incorporated.
There you go. And apparently we're in that one too. We were in that show as well.
We were in that too. I was dating Laverne at the time.
Yes.
And you had the thing. You went on a double date with Shirley.
That's right. I remember.
Yeah, I felt that out.
A lot of people, I guess they do know that the producer of the show wasn't that's his daughter.
Gary Marshall. No, that was his sister.
Oh, his sister? Okay.
His sister, Penny Marshall, was Gary Marshall's sister.
That was his daughter, and she went on to have a nice career after it anyway. And she had that funny laugh and then
she was on also Odd Couple from last week. She was Myrna.
That's right, Myrna. Yeah.
And then Shirley was in American Graffiti. But you know what? That was a great show. What was your favorite part of that show, though?
Lenny and Squiggy.
Bingo. Leonard Kosnowski and Andrew Squigman.
That's right, Squiggy.
Those were the two guys.
They were the dopey.
And then they had the little kid. Yeah, they had the cast characters. Phil Foster played Frank DeFazio. Was Laverne DeFazio's father.
Hmm?
And what was their friend's name? The dancer. He was the dancer.
Oh.
He always used to date Shirley Feeney.
Yeah. I can see his face. I can't.
The big ragu.
The big ragu. Ah.
Carmine Ragusa.
That's right.
Carmine Ragusa. And in every show, he'd be like, I go from rags to riches.
I'm sorry. I don't remember that. As I can't pull it up as quickly. I went to college.
Yeah, they used to put on show. That was another one. Like Three's Company would always have like that mistaken identity thing. This one here, they were always putting on some kind of a talent show.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And, I remember too, like they were always slapping each other and doing pratfalls to Lenny and Squiggy. I remember like they were always doing like falling down the stairs and over the top behavior.
And you know what the best part about them guys was? Every time they'd be like Shirley would be in the house with Laverne, and she's like, Laverne, I was in the bathroom and it was so disgusting, and I was picking up everything in the bathroom, and there was dirt all over and there was scum all over, and guess what else? Hello. The two of them would walk in the door and say, hello. They'd always come in when it was like they're talking about something really scummy.
It was Carmine, the big ragu, right?
Yeah, Carmine Ragusa.
Yeah, Ragusa. Okay.
That's why I call him the big ragu. His last name was Ragusa.
Great show. Great show. A lot of fun memories there too. And as you go through, as I look through, as I look through all of these, as you look through these, they shape all these shows were shaping the goofballs that we've become.
Yes.
If you
know what every one of those shows that you've shown so far have in common?
No, what's that?
You and I were in them.
That's right. I forgot all about being in those shows back in the 70s. How about this one, Walt?
Now this one was awesome too. This was the Jeffersons.
Right, and we were the new white neighbors.
Yes, we were the ones living in the apartment next door.
That's when white lives mattered.
Yes. We were friends. There was nothing going on. We were just roommates.
And by the moving on up, this was another thing. This guy was he was a comedian too, I believe before he began this series.
Sherman Hemsley?
I believe so, yeah.
This was a spinoff. They were the neighbors of the Bunkers.
Yep.
So this was a spinoff from All in the Family. This was one of the first shows I remember where they showed an interracial couple.
Yes.
Tom and Helen Willis.
Well, there was also Star Trek. Remember Star Trek? When I don't know, you were a big Trekkie guy, but he was. No. They did the interracial thing there very early on.
But she was green.
No, he kissed Uhura.
Uhura, right?
She's a.
But this show is Uhura. She's a hua. Uhura.
Oh, no, it's Uhura.
This show here,
Jewish woman.
But the thing that you always look for Florence, the maid. She always had some kind of a wisecrack back at George Jefferson.
Yeah.
You remember her?
Yeah. Yeah. And again, the writing was really good. It was all 1-2 punchy kind of sticky writing. And I think that's because we came out of the Borscht Belt at those times, and the writing was all put down and interactively slapping other people around and being sarcastic,
Correct. And you saw the Tom Willis's wife, Roxy Roker there. What was her name? Helen Willis?
Oh yeah, there you go.
Middle in the red. You know who her son is?
I have no idea.
Lenny Kravitz.
Oh, for real? I didn't know that.
Real. Yeah, that's Lenny Kravitz. And actually, Lenny Kravitz, the diner here in Chester, the woman who owns it is his aunt or something like that, or his cousin, Lenny Kravitz.
You live in Chester?
Chester, yes.
You have all your teeth?
I do.
Hey, this is fun. I'm looking at that picture. What's interesting is that they don't look, I don't know if you can see, you probably can't see my mouse, but they don't look like they belong together, that couple.
Yeah, well, that was the whole thing. She was like a really sassy African-American woman, and he was like that really dull white guy who was trying to be hip.
Yeah, they
keep up with George.
They look. He looks like he should be on the Love Boat.
Oh, he might have been. I forgot his name, Williamson or something, but his name was Tom Willis on the show.
Yeah, back in.
I remember, but that was a take.
Let's move on. We're at 51 minutes in, and already here we go. Another great show.
It's another great one.
Now, I've worked with J.J. Walker a couple of times actually. Really, very interesting guy. Very interesting guy. As a matter of fact, I asked him to be on here, and I thought he would do it. He's not into it right now.
He said no. No. But you saw the woman on the left there.
Yeah, go ahead.
That was Willona, the neighbor, Willona.
Yes.
She was actually the one who sang "Moving On Up" for the Jefferson.
Get out of here! What, you're full of chock full of.
That was Jeanette Dubois.
And people don't know that we were on this show as well.
Yes, we were on this show. We actually used to come and collect the rent.
That's terrible.
It was It was a great show because John Amos was awesome, and then he was the bad guy in Die Hard 2.
Right.
But he was great, the father, and then he died. Also, he died in this show somehow because he left, and then I guess JJ and Michael were the men of the house, and then Esther Roll, who the mother, she passed away. So it was only just the kids that were left. But they had Booker, who was the superintendent. He was good. I think he was a comedian, and they had all kinds of characters like Alderman Davis. He was the alderman for the projects over there, and he used to come in and try to always get away with something, trying to get their votes. And Anita Luta, remember him? He used to come in and he open his jacket. He had watches on one side.
Yes.
All kinds of chains on here. Lenny Luta. That's what he used to do.
I remember I work with JJ. I booked him actually in Parks Casino in Pennsylvania, and we had done a show there together. And I remember he had fans. And by the way, he's a really great comic. He's a good stand-up. He's a good, clean, funny stand-up comic. People wouldn't. I mean, if people don't know it or don't follow him later on, he's a really great stand-up. Been around a long time. He lives in Vegas actually, and I remember at the end of the show, he gets people to this day will run to this guy and want to buy the books and the T-shirts and the Dynamite hats and all of that.
But he doesn't like that, right? He doesn't like that whole Dynamite.
He doesn't like having to say Dynamite over and over again. I guess it gets repetitive to him. I mean, I don't want to speak for him. I just remember him being like kind of, I guess it's so much of the same thing. It's drilled into your head. But he did sell a ton of stuff, and he was nice. He took pictures with everybody, and it was I can't believe how it's over 50 years old and how popular
he was. A big time comic, man. He was like one of the guys that hung with Johnny Carson.
Yeah, and he's got great stories too. He told me some really great showbiz stories, stories I can't even repeat here that were bizarre about how he was treated early on and later on, and really great story. He's a very entertaining guy. I'm sorry he didn't come on here. Poo on you, JJ, for not popping on here.
That's right. One of those. That's one of my favorite shows. Even till today, I could watch that show. And it was literally somebody came up with the idea of taking a family who lived in a small little apartment in the projects, and made them funny. I mean, it was just the trials and tribulations of living in the projects. They made it funny. They made it funny, and that was one of the shows I had to watch every week.
Also, I'll move on because we're getting later and later and later. I want to get through some of these. And even my favorite this is one of my favorites, of course, the Gilligan's Island. Oh my goodness, this is such a, and we were in that one too, weren't we?
Yeah, we were there. We were hitting it back. That was one episode, but
I think we were the last people to be picked up off that island. Now, again, all right, Tina Louise or
Dawn Wells.
Dawn Wells, yeah. Now, you asked Dawn Wells to be on here, didn't you?
I did ask Dawn Wells. Yes, I sent a message to Dawn Wells. I did take a picture with her. And I know she's pretty approachable, but maybe she just doesn't look at our Facebook account. But this was one of my favorite all-time shows.
Me too.
That I can watch it. I know every one of the episodes. I know, the skipper's name. You know what the skipper's name was? Everybody knew him as Skipper, but his real name on the show was
Bob McHale or something? Mahale?
Well, his real name was Alan Hale.
Alan Hale, okay. Oh, you mean the skipper's name on the show?
It was Jonas Grumby.
I wouldn't have known that at all.
They tried to blame. Yeah, they tried to blame it on him, and that's how they named him on that radio that always worked.
That's great. That's great. That's really great. That's good trivia. I had no idea. And by the way,
the professor's name was Roy Hinckley.
Yeah,
Roy Hinckley. Then it was Marianne Summers, Ginger Grant, Lovey and Thurston Howell, and Gilligan. There's different ways, but who'chamacallit, Sherwood Schwartz said his name was Willie Gilligan, so Gilligan was his last name.
And I also remember watching a documentary about Sherwood Schwartz and how all the troubles they had getting this thing and how they made the lagoon and all the issues that they had. There's a lot of great history on a show like this. But I too did watch this show every day, over and over and over.
And I could over and over.
You still enjoyed it. It's one of those timeless things. It's timeless.
Favorite episode is when they went on that island. The mad scientist doctor, he played by Vito Scotti. took him from their island to his island, and they switched the bodies. So remember, they put him in a machine, and they made, Gilligan was Ginger, and Ginger was Gilligan. Mrs. Howell was the skipper. The professor was Mr. Howell. So everybody, and then like a monkey was like one of the other guys. The lab assistant was Ginger. That's who it was. He was Ginger.
I remember that one. Yeah, I don't know if
that was one of my favorites.
I remember being frustrated too when like they almost got off, like they draft. I remember being frustrated, like but they did do follow-up specials at the end. They had a couple of specials movies.
Rescue from Gilligan's Island.
Yeah,
they made a pontoon boat to get out of there, and the way they got discovered was Gilligan was frying fish or something, and he set the whole pontoon on fire, and that's how a helicopter saw him.
Also, if you remember it too, the Mr. Howell was Mr. Magoo's voice. I mean, he was Jim Backus had done so many other things. Matter of fact, I can't get the chat. I have to look over, but I just noticed Tom said Bob Denver was great as Dobie Gillis, and Alan Hale was Junior. His father was a great movie actor. See, I didn't even know that either.
Yeah, he was Dobie Gillis before he was Gilligan.
And that's right. And Daniel Miller says Tina, and then Dawn. He has two people in. Look at this guy. He has his choice and how he wants to. He has the order.
Who's that? Who he won first?
The Canadian. Yeah, he's giving me. You say Tina or Dawn. He goes Tina and then Dawn. So he's doing
Tina then Dawn.
Yeah, there you go.
Daniel, that doesn't mean who you want to captive in your basement.
Who you want to lock up and
who you want to lock up down there and put the shampoo in the basket down to them.
How about this one, Walt? There you go.
Brady's. Mark brought that up about the Brady's.
Yeah.
And think about that, how that all worked out, man. That all worked out, that he was a father who had 3 boys. She was a mother who had 3 girls. They're all good. Nobody was bad looking in the entire family. And then they got a housekeeper.
Yeah, and she was dating the butcher. What was his name?
Sam the Butcher.
There you go, Sam the Butcher.
Sam the Butcher. Yeah, I know a lot of that stuff. Tiger was the dog, and Davy Jones was on there, and Joe Namath was on there. All the icons were on there. One of my favorite episodes is when Marcia gets hit in the nose with the football.
With the football, yeah.
Then her nose is like this big. And the class then she was going to a date, and something suddenly came up. They couldn't go anymore.
What was the thing with the shoes? Go Marsha.
Oh, that was Jan. Jan was always, the middle child syndrome. Marsha used to get everything, and she used to Marsha. But the favorite episode, and my brother loves this episode, is when they went to Hawaii and they found the idol, and all the bad luck started happening to them.
Your brother said Kurt Russell was the boy.
Yeah, Kurt Russell was the little jungle boy in Gilligan's Island.
Oh, Gilligan's Island, yeah, because they're a little behind.
Gilligan's Island. He was the little jungle boy, Kurt Russell.
And let's move. I'm gonna have to. We could spend a whole show on just this because there's so many great.
We'll do 2 more. Make sure you get the one I sent you.
MASH.
Very close. This close to getting Jamie Farr to come on to the show tonight.
Maybe next week we could do something with him. Another time.
We'll see. You know what? You know what the guy, his manager, pointed out. Maybe we do game shows because Jamie Farr used to be on a lot of game shows back in the 60s and 70s,
including the one of my favorites, The Gong Show.
The Gong Show. He was one of the Gong Show. He's on a $20,000 pyramid. He was on Match Game. He was on everything.
Love the $20,000 pyramid. But that's another show. How about these guys?
Oh, we never did anything with MASH.
No, I'm moving forward.
We can do another episode, but you got to bring up the one that I sent you last.
Okay, I guess we should close that because we're at the hour already. I mean, there was Police Squad.
Yep.
And there's also WKRP. I was not a big fan of this show. I didn't watch this a lot. A lot of people really loved it. I was not a big fan. And by the way, you see this way this fits in the whole entire window because of the direction of the way it's shot. You notice that?
I watched that show for nothing more than Lonnie Anderson.
I think that was Abreast of America, by the way.
Yeah.
But now I don't know a lot about the show. Who was the other lady there that was in that show?
That was actually, what's her name? I think Marcia Strassman. If I'm not mistaken, she played the wife of Welcome Back, Kotter.
She looks like that. Yeah.
That's who it is.
Yeah,
and I can't believe I forgot to put Welcome Back, Kotter on here.
Yeah, you're right. Well, we do more shows in the 70s. There's so many great shows. Well, the one that was one of my total favorites, as you probably
Mine
know,
too.
was one of your favorites too.
Oh, this one, yeah, absolutely.
And it would come on after there was a show that was in 1971 or 2 and 3 that was called Mary Hartman, Mary Hartman.
Yeah, Mary Hartman, Mary Hartman.
And
Louise Lasser.
Louise Lasser. And that was it was a soap opera comedy or something. It was I was never hooked into
Not a band.
but it was huge.
Yeah.
In the early 70s, it was huge. And it was on, I believe, at like, I don't know, 8, 10 o'clock at night or something. Right before it or right after it came on my favorite show, Soap.
We're in there, right?
Yeah.
We were.
Yeah. We did a couple.
That was the story of it. Started out with what's his name? Robert Urich. You know who Robert Urich is, right?
Sure.
Robert Urich was Peter Campbell.
Yeah.
And he was murdered.
Yeah.
And the whole premise of the show was trying to find out who killed Peter Campbell. Peter Campbell. And then it was a whole bunch of different things. Jessica in the light blue dress there, she was dating him, and she was married to Richard Mulligan, who was being abducted by aliens, and Chuck and Bob. You know Jay Johnson personally.
Jay's my favorite person in the whole world when it comes to ventriloquism. I think he's brilliant.
But he was that brother who came because his brother Peter Campbell got killed, so he came, but he thought the puppet was real. Yeah. And then everybody started talking to the puppet like it was real, but Bert would not buy it. How many times did Bert Campbell strangle Bob?
Many times. And it was the funniest thing is seeing the guy choke the puppet instead, because that's a whole separation of character.
Everybody used to think would act the puppet was real, except one person, if you remember.
Who was the one person that did not act as if he was real?
Benson.
And he was the most arrogant. He was like, "Oh, he was
the butler or whatever they called him at the time. He was this, the guy who worked at the house."
It's funny too. I'm looking at the chat. I'm on the side. I can't bring it up tonight, but Roger Dry said, "Any other vents up for the role?" And that's a very interesting question. I understand there was several up for the role, and I don't remember the whole story, but I remember Jay Johnson telling me this whole story about how he got this audition and went back a couple of times and on and on and on and on. And I actually became a ventriloquist because of this show. My life path is based on watching this as a kid. I remember thinking, I remember the very first time that Jay Johnson had Bob, and he was wearing a multicolored shirt, which was like a Hawaiian kind of thing. Yeah. And I remember whatever this particular episode was, he walking into a kitchen, and the way the puppet would get away with murder. And I remember thinking, and he would just stand there and with his puppet on his hand and get away with murder.
It's Bob.
It's Bob. And people would yell at his brother, would yell at the mafia guy, would yell at the puppet, and
Danny.
Yeah, Danny. Yeah, Danny. And then he would choke him too, and then he would go, "Danny, he hurt me." Danny hurt me. The voice was this: "Danny hurt me. Danny hurt me. Danny hurt me." That's I patterned my voice after trying to be like that guy in television. But the thing that impressed me the most was the fact that he was able to do the ventriloquism and have people believe the puppet was real and get away with the nastiest lines. I remember thinking, I want to be able to do those nasty lines and be the
and
nice
guy. And you do.
Yeah, but it's my life. I actually thought of my life. It's crazy to think about that.
I've seen your act. That puppet gets away with anything.
It's true. It really is true.
And even like on that show, they would, Jay would go, "It's not me, it's the puppet." And then, somebody like Mary Campbell would go, "Well, it's the puppet. It wasn't him."
Yeah, it's the puppet. It's interesting too, though, looking back at these days, when I think about this, and that's another thing. The gay guy was the first like real gay guy on this.
Yeah, that was Billy Crystal.
Who was a really great, turned out to be a wonderful comedian too later on, unbelievable. And there was spin-offs too that went with Benson. But Billy Crystal, I remember back after the show ended, kept coming on talking about all the time that he was afraid he was going to get typecast and he would never work again. And look what happened to his career later.
Took off.
But there was a long delay in between. Long delay.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know this, but Billy what was his name? Jody. His name on there was Jody, and Danny was Burt Campbell's sons. But they weren't with Mary. They were with his previous wife, which their last name was Dallas. So it was Jody Dallas and Danny Dallas.
Oh, wow. And by the way, in the chat, Brian says, mention Chuck and Bob living next door to us on Boyd. What does that mean?
Chuck and Bob next to us.
Yeah, that's your brother saying that. So whatever that.
We had the two kids. I don't know. Well, you're not going to know this, but there was in 1986 there was a Mets video when the Mets were winning games and they were going to the World Series. There was a video made called "Let's Go Mets," and in the beginning of the video there were these 3 kids flipping baseball cards, and these 2 twin brothers lost to the bully. He was taking all their cards, and then Dwight Gooden and Gary Carter, 2 Mets, flipped down a whole bunch of other cards and say, "Hey kids, now play." And they started flipping all over the Mets cards, and it went to this big. The 2 little twin brothers who lost, they lived next door to us.
Oh, that's what he's probably talking about there.
Yeah, Chuck and Bob. I don't know what the Chuck and Bob. You know what? It's ringing a vague bell, and I'm sure I'll call him afterward and say, "What the hell were you talking about? Chuck and Bob living next to us?" And I'll be like, "Oh man, I forgot that."
Yeah, it happens all the time. This was one hell of a great show. I'm surprised that you were just such a big fan as I was. I was really, really hooked. And later on, it did get cheesy at the end. Remember when Bert started like seeing aliens and stuff like that, and it started.
He make himself invisible.
Yeah, and that's the point where I started getting like, it was kind of getting too. At the time, I remember thinking, I have this whole series on DVD, by the way, which I have to sit.
It's one box set. Yeah, I have it.
When I had COVID, I should have watched this series. Instead, I watched Bill Bixby and the Magician
17 times. Now, here's the question, and I don't know if you remember this: who killed Peter Campbell?
I don't. It was big. It was almost like who killed GR. It was a big thing. You're right.
It was Chester Tate. Jessica Tate's husband. It was Chester Tate. He went to jail. If you remember, he went to jail. His cellmate was Dutch, and then Dutch got out.
I forgot about that. Oh yeah.
Donnelly Rhodes was Dutch's real name, and he came out and he married like one of the daughters.
When was the last time you watched it? Walt, when was the last time you remember that? When is the last time?
All in here. I'm telling you. I have friends that go out to bars and they talk trivia. 2:00 in the morning, my cell phone will ring, and Jimmy will say to me, "Hey, what was the guy's name that was roommates with Chester Tate that married one of the daughters?" I'm like, "That was Dutch. That was Dutch. He was played by Donnelly Rhodes. Don't call it here anymore."
Very, very funny. It's funny too. I get calls 2 in the morning too, but they're not from people asking me trivia. They're asking me to keep me awake while they drive it home.
When you said, "Oh, we didn't do any show prep," I said, "I don't hear it. It's all here. I don't need prep for this."
That's great. That's really great. You got a great memory. See, that's one thing I don't have is a good memory. Unless I really put my attention on it, I can't, because my head is like a hose. The water goes through it, and then you shut it off. It just pours out. It's done.
Yeah, but you got to remember your act. So I mean, that probably takes up a lot of your space.
My hard drive space is full. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. It knocked out a whole bunch of this old stuff. But yeah, Soap was one of the best all-time shows.
It was. I need to install.
There was a spinoff from that also.
New RAM in my head. New RAM. What was the spinoff of Soap?
Benson.
Benson. I said that earlier. Yeah, Benson. Where is it? There you go. Benson.
Yeah, Benson. Robert Guillaume over there. He got his own. He went to go work for, I guess, a really rich family, and governor. I think it was a governor that he worked for.
The 2 ladies there, the redhead and the mom that played the wife, they also went on to have pretty decent careers. She was very popular, the redheaded lady, even as she started getting older. She was a beautiful woman, and she did a lot.
That was what was her name? She played Mona on Who's the Boss?
Yep,
the mother. That was what was her name? Can't remember her name now.
I don't remember her name either. But oh wow, Billy. That's right. Tom said Billy Crystal's boyfriend was Bruce Jenner. That's correct.
Is that? I don't remember that.
Oh, wow. The trivia being pulled up there.
Wow.
That was one of the greatest.
Well, Bruce Jenner died, though, didn't he?
Yeah, Bruce Jenner's a guy.
Technically, he died.
He's technically dead, too.
Technically, there's no more Bruce Jenner.
Well, on Father's Day, I'm not sure what he's doing. Coming up soon. I don't know if they. You know what's? I was thinking about this the other day with Bruce Jenner because he used to be on the Wheaties boxes. But just think about Bruce Jenner. Do you think that like when he was a little kid, his mother would find women's panties in his underwear drawer and go, "Hey, where these come from? Oh, my son's got women's panties." They're thinking, "Wow, he's got it going on." Not realizing
very popular with the ladies.
yeah, right. She
That's
thinks
my
he's got it
son.
going on, but he's putting it on. So, but
Yeah, I completely forgot all about that.
yeah, see, there's a lot of we could do a whole show on soap trivia one night. Then
But
again,
if you remember all of it, Robert Urich, who played Peter Campbell,
Mhm.
also played Officer Street in the TV show SWAT. But then he was the guy Dan Tanner in Vegas. So it was always the same people playing in. They were all doing the same thing. What show we didn't even. We have to do another one of these shows because we didn't even do Taxi.
oh yeah, there's so many more of the 70 shows. Well, maybe next week we'll do 70 shows again because we're already way over an hour and 13 here.
All right,
And,
let's
we got to close it down. But this is fun, and again, we just thought in the beginning of it, we're not even chipping away a little piece of it. And I could just think of 20 more shows right off the bat that are just great back in the 60s.
And there wasn't one of those shows that people are going to say, "Yeah, I never watched that." Maybe WKRP, but otherwise.
I've seen it. I've seen it a few times. I never hooked into it, but yet it was really, really huge. It was huge.
I remember them too. Howard Hessman and Gordon Jump and Lonnie Anderson, and I loved Lonnie Anderson. Everybody loved Lonnie.
Everyone loved Lonnie Anderson, and except for the one guy who divorced her. Who
wasn't it? Burt Reynolds.
That's correct. Yeah, Burt
Reynolds. I think he used to beat her up a little bit.
That's what I heard too. She used to try to run his fingers through his hair when he wasn't home.
He didn't like it. He didn't like it. Burt. Listen, we could do a whole show on Burt Reynolds movies. By the way,
works for me. I mean,
I was thinking about that.
One of my favorite movies too was Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah, Smokey and the Bandit. But my favorite Burt Reynolds movie, and we'll end it on this, is The End with Dom DeLuise.
That's right. Great movie. Great.
Where he wants to kill himself because he thinks he's dying. And one of my favorite parts, and it was what was it? It was Robbie Benson. Robbie Benson was in it, right? And Robbie Benson was the priest. He was the priest, and he was listening to all the stories, all the sex that Burt Reynolds had, and he oh shit, my thumbs are horrible. So he takes off his collar, right? He's got his collar on, and he's just listening to Burt. He's like, "Yes, my son. Yes, my son." And then he's like this. Just listening to him, I was like, "Wow, this movie is really funny."
You could have been a contender. You're acting out as me. You could have been a contender.
Could have been. But anyway, listen. Thanks for showing up again this week. Everybody, like us on Facebook.
Yes, we're on Facebook, and also we're on YouTube. If you search us, just type our names into YouTube. You'll find the links there as well. Like and share. And
yes.
Walt, I guess we'll do more shows next week. We're going to probably do a different date next week, and we're going to do 70s again, right? 70s television.
We'll do 60s, 70s TV shows, the ones that we grew up watching.
So I'd like to thank everybody for watching, and I want to thank my co-host, Walt, Mr. Pupalio. Is that Pupalio? Am I correct?
Pale O.
Oh, he looks pale, and he's a little O in the face.
Oh.
We'll see you next week.
Thanks, man.
Ciao,
baby.